Welcome back to the Crochet Carousels, my friends at yarnspirations.com. Today is the Heartwarming Knit Scarf by Julie Farmer. Now this is using one ogo for the version number 1 of the skinnier version, and the wider version is using 2 ogos. And you can see that the first one was Jewel Tone, and the second one here is Forest. You'll also need a 5.5 millimeter knitting needle, or that's US 9, and I'm just going to be using circular knitting needles today, and I'm going to be teaching this from a beginner's perspective. So this really truly is beginners, and you can have a great little scarf, and I'm going to demonstrate the small narrow version for you today. On page number 2, you can see the cast on is either 16 for the small or 32 for the larger version, and it's in sets of it's in multiples of 4. So if you'd like to change it to maybe 20, 24, as long as it's multiples of 4, it'll work. So here is what the samples look like. You can see a little bit of texture. It caught my curiosity when I was doing it, and I think that as a beginner knitter that I am technically, I think that I can be able to manage this. So I'm going to show you how to do the rows, and then I'm going to leave it for you, and then I will show you how to then cast off at the very end. So without further ado, let's begin and start to learn to knit for the very first time. So I'm going to be using circular knitting needles today. I just find them easier. They're less clunky to work with, and that's something that you can decide for yourself, or you can use the 2 sticks that you would like to. So 5.5 millimeter, and that was the US 9. So what I want to do is that I want to just put this aside, and we want to prepare the yarn to get ready for the knitting process. So let's begin to prepare the slip knot. So take the end of the yarn and point your finger like this, and take this and just spin it around twice. Okay, I'll show you again. So just point your finger, take the yarn, and spin it around twice. When you're ready, just pinch, open your hand, and just pinch the 2. To finish the slip knot, you're going to take the first one right here, closest to the palm of your hand, and you're going to shift it over top of the other strand and hold it. You're then going to take this strand here and pick it up and jump it over top of your finger like this. And that is your slip knot when you take out your finger. So I'll demonstrate one more time. So wrap twice, pinch, back over the front, and then the new back one up over top of your finger, and that is your slip knot. So grab any one of your knitting needles, it doesn't matter which one, and just place it in, and then just using the yarn that is leading to the yarn ball, just pull on it, and just make sure it's nice and easy on your knitting needle. Let's review on how to hold the yarn in the yarn feeding hand. There are many methods to holding the yarn. So my mom showed me how to do a pinch and throw. So I would take this, just pinch it and throw it over top and do what I need to do. So there's that. The other process that I've learned in my adult years is a different way, and then it's easier for me and it's less correction on my hand. I take my pinky and I wrap it around once. I then go on the inside of my hand and over top of my finger like this. You may have a better way, so just be cautious of that. Okay, take your pinky, wrap, open your hand, and put it here. So when I go to throw over, I'm using my finger to toss over the needle. I'll demonstrate one more time. So pinky in the front of your hand, and then like that. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate on how to cast on. We're going to cast on 16. You can do 24 or 24, 32, any multiple of 4 will work. Let's try. So on screen, I'm going to be demonstrating the cast on method using twist and transfer. So there's many ways to cast on. So if you have a better way, by all means, practice it. So I'm going to put the yarn in my hand. And it's over top of my finger. So we want to put this needle into the same slip knot where this is being shared. So come up underneath, and when you put it in, keep it to the back like so. So when you open it and looking at it from the top, you can see that you're inside the whole knot, both of those needles. Whether you're doing a pinch and throw or any kind of method to wrap the hook, or wrap the needle, you're gonna wrap the back one. So just come around the back and over and down. I'll be demonstrating this several times. So then shift this needle here on the right down, and when it comes down, you're going to be noticing that the yarn is sinking between the slip knot, and you'll be able to pick it up once it comes out. And there it is. And you push this needle back up. Now we're going to do a twist and transfer, so just give it a little bit of slack, and you are going to then just move it like this. And see this needle right here on the left? You want to stick in, and see how I'm using my finger to prevent that from falling off? I want to stick that needle in through the bottom of the one on the right. And what I'm doing is that I'm transferring it to this needle here that I'm tapping. And you can remove this needle out, and now you have 2 loops on here. And that was a twist and transfer. So let me show you again. So we're going to grab the new one we just made, and we're going to go in to the same slip knot and towards the back side. We're now going to take the yarn, flip it over top of the back needle and down. And now you're going to shift that back one down, and you're going to flick it forward, capturing the one strand you just wrapped. And you're going to move the needle up. And do you see how it's grabbing this yarn and pulling more slack? That's the size of the needle. So each needle size that you see in the store matters. So now we're going to put our needles back like this. And this needle that is on the left, I'm going to come up underneath and capture it. So I've just twisted it by doing it that way. And so I've just captured it, and I'm just putting it back onto this one. So that's number 3. I'm not going to demonstrate this for all of it. I'm just going to do a few more. So I'm going to stick my needle, do another one into the last loop that we just made, wrap, move down and flick it your way, move up, go back to driving, like driving a car position, and then use the needle on the left to collect. And then move it down the further in the shaft. You're going to notice that when you cast on, it's going to be tight, but after the first row, you'll notice all of that will relax. So in the back, wrap, move down and flip towards you. Go back to this position, and then using the needle on the left, collect it. If you have to provide more slack, you can do so, because the tightness is not established until it's on this needle. Okay, so this is the last demonstration, and I'll have you do the amount that you need. Okay, around, flick, back to this position, and underneath, grab it in place. So I need you to get, according to the pattern, either 16 loops onto this needle or 32, you can decide, and I'll be back in just a few moments. So just put me on pause, and we'll continue then to row number 1 after that. So now I have 16 on here, and you see how narrow it looks? It's going to widen up as soon as we do the first row. So the pattern has us doing rows number 1 through 4 over and over and over until you either get to 55 inches in the pattern or 80 inches. It depends on the size that you're working on. So you'll notice that version 1, the stripes are a lot longer, where the version 2, the stripes are less long, and they're more wide because of the size. So as you begin in this pattern, what we have is rows number 1 through 4. You can use the video description, and there's time markers there so that you can reverse back if you need to. So let's begin then row number 1. So let's begin row number 1. It says knit 2, which is represented by K2. That's what that means. And then it says purl 2 and represented by P2. And you will see these in patterns going on in the future. So to knit, what we just did is that when we stuck in our needle, we went into the first loop available and we put the needle to the back side here. So this needle that we're using is going in and towards the back, and it's opening up that loop. We're going to wrap that. So we wrap back down and we're going to knit. So we're just going to move this down, collect the new strand, and then shift up. And what we're going to do is that we are going to shift this loop over top of this needle right here. So you want to just come up and just take it off. And so now you've just transferred that loop over to the other stitch. So that was knit for 1, and we need to knit 2. So we're going to do the next one. So going in towards the back, and we wrap, and back down and flick forward. And once you've got that safely secured, you are going to move that off of the needle. So you want to keep these relatively close to the top of this needle here to make that faster. So that was knit 2. We now need to do purl 2. To do purl 2, what we're going to do is see this yarn, see how it's on the back of where you are. We need to have this on the front of the project. So we're going to take this yarn before we do anything and move it to the front before touching anything, and then we're going to do purl. And we're going to purl the next 2. So instead of going where we had been, we want to come in and grab the loop from the top and go straight across so that this needle that I've just stuck in is on the front of the project. We're going to take this strand now, wrap it around that one, and back down. And so when we go to lower this down and out of the way, we're going to collect that new strand by flicking it back. And once it's safely on the one that I'm wiggling right now, I just want to slide that loop off. So we're going to purl 2, so that was purl 1. So this is the second one. So this yarn is already in the right position. It's already in the front. And so then you just come in from the top and go across, around, and down, and flick to the back. And once it's safely on there, just shift that loop off and over. So now we're going to knit 2. So in order to go back to knitting, this strand here has to go back to the opposite side. So through there, so you can't go here, you have to go through. So think about it like football goal post, okay, through the back. And now we're going to knit 2. So we're going to come up from underneath again, like we had been before, towards the back. We wrap, and then we shift down and bring it forward, just like casting on. And once it's safely on there, you can just shift that over top. And so that was 1, and you'll do the next one. And shift off. So that was knit 2. So you've done knit 2, purl 2, knit 2. Just remember everything is in sets of 2. So now we got to purl 2. So we have to move this between the goalposts to the front of it before you start, and then purl the next 2. So just come into the front, wrap, shift down towards the back, and when you're ready and it's secure, just flip over top of the needle. And we're going to do the next one. This strand is already in the proper position, so just wrap. And now we've got to knit 2. So we've got to take this back through the goalpost and knit the next 2. And then we're going to purl 2. So between the goalposts. And flip back. Okay, and now we need to knit 2, so we got to move that between the goalposts again and knit 2. So put me on pause if you're not at the end. Everything's in set to 2 on row number 1. And the last 2 are going to be purl 2. And eventually everything will come to an end and you'll have everything transferred off this needle. So you can just shift this back, just change hands and get ready to go for row number 2. And you'll see it's a lot more relaxed now than it was when you cast on. So let's begin row number 2. So let's begin row number 2. It's exactly the same as the first row. So we're going to start and we're going to knit the first 2 stitches. So just starting in the first and knit. And now it's a lot looser to work with, which is awesome. Okay, so we knit the first 2, and then what are we going to do for the next 2? Did you say purl? So if you got a purl, you got to move the yarn in front between the goalpost and purl the next 2. So knitting kind of starts off tight and then it loosens off. And it gets a lot easier to be able to shift things up and down the needles. So we just purled 2, so now we have to go back to knit 2, so we have to go back between the goalpost. So we get the yarn in the back and knit the next 2. Okay, now we're going to purl the next 2. So move the yarn between the goalpost. And then towards the back, we're going to knit the next 2. Now how I'm holding the yarn, it takes a bit of practice just so that you're aware of that. And you'll find your own rhythm. Okay, and we're going to knit the next 2. And then purl the last 2. And that was row number 2. So it's exactly as number 1. So just reshift everything and change the hands over. And we're going to move on to rows number 3 and 4, which are the same for each of those instructions. And let's cover that next. In rows number 3 and 4, they're both the same. And so there's no thinking about it as far as like counting to 2. So you're just going to start out immediately in the first one. And you're just going to knit all the way across. So the knit stitch all the way. So just stay towards the back. Okay, and then wrap and stay, and then just continue to knit. And so rows number 3 and 4 gives you a mental break from counting to 2, and you're just doing the straight knit stitch over top of the row. So rows number 1 and 2 give it texture, and rows number 3 and 4 get it to settle down just for a few seconds of time. And then you're back to the counting for rows number 1 and 2. Remember, my friends, that knitting is not a race. You see people online, they knit pretty quickly. Some people do. I don't knit very quickly at all. I like to enjoy the journey, and that's what it is in the end. So it's not a race. the less movement that you can do with your hands, the easier it is on your hands. So you don't want your hands flying all over the place when you go to knit, because it tires out your hands and arms pretty quickly. And so this is row number 3. So we just did a straight knit stitch all the way across, and then you're just going to change hands and begin then row number 4, which is going to be the end of the repeat. And you may see some of the texture showing up, but it would just take a few more rows in order for that to happen. Let's go on to row number 4. So row number 4, as I promised before, is just a straight knit stitch across. So just start and just continue to do the knit stitch. Now I started knitting back a few days ago, so I've actually gotten the hang of being able to move the needles pretty smoothly. But back a few days ago, I wasn't as smooth. So it does take a bit of practice, even if you're jumping between the crafts, in order to get the movements. So row number 4 here is just a straight knit stitch all the way. Sorry, the puppy dog is behind me having a little bit of a nightmare, so you may hear whimper a little bit. Okay, so that was row number 4. So on a sheet of paper, what I would do is I would write down the numbers of 1, 2, 3, and 4. And as you complete each row, then I would check it off to keep yourself in balance. So now that we've done the sequence once, you just have to continue it again. So when you start row number 1 all over again, remember what it was, is that when you started off and you knitted the first 2, then purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, all the way to the end. Row number 2 is the exact same thing. And then rows number 3 and 4 are just the knit stitch. So eventually your project will get to the length that you want, and you'll have to cast off. It's called a bind off as well. And so I'm going to show you how to cast off knit-wise at the very end. So once your scarf is as long as you want it to be, whether it's the 55 or 80 inches, that's up to you. You need to cast off at the end. So to finish off, you're going to start as if you're doing a knit stitch, and you'll knit the first one. And you'll shift it over and move it onto this knitting needle. You're going to knit the next one, number 2. And after you've got it knit and you shift it off, you want to use this needle right here, and you want to grab the first one right here, and you want to pull it up over this and right up over top of the needle, so that this is remaining onto the needle. This takes a bit of practice, so you're just going to shift it up and over, and this does a bind off. And so now this is the new loop. So you'll do the next one. So knit, shift off, and then we need to get this one here up over top of your knitting needle to bind off. Okay. This takes practice, so don't be fearful. Just take your time. It's not a race. Yesterday I was practicing casting off, and it was kind of rough at doing it, but today I'm easier, but I think it's the yarn choice as well. So you want to do this all the way back until there's one loop left on the knitting needle. If you drop it, make sure you calm down first, and then just try to get it back onto your needles without flipping out. So I'm coming to the very last one. So I'm just gonna knit over and take this one here and put it over. And then this is the last loop left. So before you panic, just trim your yarn going to the yarn ball. Make sure it's long enough that you can get it through a tapestry needle. And just pull that loop up a little bit so that you can feed this yarn through. And that'll cause it to lock so it will not unravel. Okay, and so you're going to notice is that your pattern is going to look really cool, and you want to take a tapestry needle in this case and place it on. You can weave it in with a crochet hook or whatever, but it's always going to follow, but a tapestry needle is the best. And you just want to drag it through, and if you can separate the plies of yarn, not just go between the stitches, it's much better. And so you'll go through once, and when you pull it, don't change the shape of your project. Okay, and then you'll go back in the opposite direction. And then just the final pull through is just a third time as a charm. So this will look a lot better once it's the full size. This is just a small little swatch today. And then you're going to trim it, and any loose ends that you'll have to do that same concept. And this would be how you would do this scarf. And this is the Heartwarming Scarf by Julie Farmer. Have a good one. We hope to see you again. Bye-bye. Want to know more? Hit that subscribe now.